Hi. I know I keep saying I'm gonna stop playing Minecraft, but I don't have the mental capacity to do anything else right now. So I've been playing alone, right? I was like, it's fine. I'm not gonna stream. It's fine. It'll be fine. I can just mindlessly Minecraft. It'll be great. But now there are happenings. Um, let's just let's get into it. Oh, I'm tiny. Hang on, hang on. There, better. Okay, anyways, look at my house. Not one, not two, but three! What are they doing? Why are they in my house? Like, fucking new record, three? What? Anyways, oh, there he is. He's in the corner. So, I was gonna play Baldur's Gate tonight, but had empty, no thoughts. I think I'm gonna do it on Friday. I think that's the plan. Friday night. And it's gonna be kind of special, because I have a new model. So there's that. Yeah. I should work on my house now that I'm actually on stream, but I'm about to go spelunking for real. Moved my bed finally. Oh, and I made the under the stairs thing a little storage closet. So that's kind of cool, you know? But I found a really good cavern. It's in that spot that I was like, I want to go in there. That spot is immaculate, actually. I have found so much iron. I have found gold, quite a bit of gold, and diamonds. But most of the diamonds I fucking lost because I can't stop dying. So currently I have a singular diamond in my house. I was a level 20 an hour ago. And then I fucking died again right in front of my house. So that was cool. But this little cavern takes you, it's pretty fucking huge, obviously. And I've been traversing it. As one does. I think over that way? No. Over this way. And then down. Okay, yes. Good, good. Cavern's fucking huge. But yeah, I kept fucking dying, so that was cool. Then I would try to come back for my shit and then like fall to my death. I was getting real fucking mad, actually. I feel like I might have plundered pretty much everything that's out in the open in that area. Shit! There's gold up here, I think. Yes. Yes, good, 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 good. Oh! It's okay. Hey, yo, is it breaking? No, we're good. We're good. That sounded threatening. Okay, there's also... Oops. I mean, that's fine, I guess. Hi, how are you? Welcome. I'm spelunking. Where is it? I'm gonna get lost. I'm gonna get lost, I'm gonna get mad. I'm glad you're doing great. Oh, thank you for the follow. I hope you enjoy your stay. I hope you enjoy your stay. I don't know how to get this out of here. Like, I don't know if I need a better pickaxe. I don't know what it is. But yeah, it just breaks. R.I.P. Ah, okay, okay. So you're from London? Interesting. Welcome in. I am a silly little American. I don't know if there's gonna be anything else worth in this cave until I actually start digging. And I don't really feel like doing that. That seems like a lot of work. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll go back to building. Oh, that's a lot of iron, though. Ew, copper. I don't need that. So, I have not. I've actually never left the country. I would like to someday. I don't know how soon that's gonna happen, though. I would, really like to go to, like, me thinking real hard. I want to go to, like, Greece. You know, the only country you've been to is Singapore. Oh, that'd be pretty cool, too. One of my friends has been trying to get me to go to Japan. And I'm like, neither of us speak Japanese. Yeah, it probably is. I should travel. Like, you only live once or whatever. Mm, I'm scared to hang out in here for too long because I will fucking die again. Okay, it's fine. I'll go work on my house. I don't need materials. It's fine. You're gonna go to North Korea one day and speak to the government? I wish you luck. If I die right now, I'm gonna be so mad. Get away from me. Get away from me. Get away from me. Oh, we're good. We're good. It's all good. Oh, sweating. North Korea's pretty crazy. I don't know what's... You know. Oh, speak against the government? I mean, both might be a little bit crazy in that, you know, in that area of the world. I feel like this cavern isn't as... Diamonds! I don't think it's diamonds. I just think it's fucking moss. I almost fell. Yeah, it's just fucking moss, okay. It needs to have some sense smacked into him. Yeah. I don't know if that would work. Someone could try. Okay, Ayo, is that like the sky? Hold up. Oh, maybe it just wasn't rendered. Okay, that makes more sense, I guess. He has too much fat to feel it. Oh my goodness. I just think he's a little too set in his ways to be, you know. I'm not one of those I can fix him type girls, you know what I'm saying? Okay, am I lost? We're good. We're good. I'm not lost. It's okay. Okay. Why are you always playing this soundtrack? Always. I'm getting sick of listening to it. Okay, anyways, enough of that. What do I have in my pockets? Pretty much nothing. Oh, the maps are shit! And it makes me mad. It's not bad to be proud of your country, and it is interesting to always learn new things, you know? These bitches aren't paying rent. I'm calling them out right now. I think oh, I think that's in my bedroom. I don't know how big I want this room to be. Oh yeah, I forgot I found gold. Wrong thing, wrong thing. But yeah, that's fair. Maybe I should. I don't think I'm ready to mess with that. What are these guys doing in my house for real, dude? I should do my like this shit. What I forgot I have fucking inspo. Let me pull out my inspo. Oh, while I'm on Spotify, sure, I'll skip that. Thanks. Oh yeah, it's on this screen. Oops. Want to know more about you personally? I mean, sure. I suppose. I do have a shovel. Are you into Minecraft? Because I've never played it before, if I'm being honest. I did want to flatten this, didn't I? That was my plan. Yeah, okay. Yes, we're good. But I want little garden thing over here, which I need to figure out how the fuck to make hedges. Oh, you have cerebral palsy? I have heard of it, but I don't know a whole lot about it. Yeah, I have. Gotta do the best we can every day, I suppose. With the hand that we've been dealt, even if it's not great. Oh, I think a creeper did that. So pretty localized. Oh wait, I don't want to use this. I want fucking bricks. That makes sense that, like, every case would be different, I suppose. Oh, what do you mean? Hi, Fox Jailer, welcome! It's nice to see you again. How are you? Do I have bricks? I do. I have roommates again. 3 of them, to be precise. Yeah, so, yeah, I'm excited. My house is gonna look great. Yeah, there's 3 in my house right now. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Again, not paying rent. I don't know why I keep collecting roommates that I didn't ask for. That's also the main reason I actually went live. I've been playing, in silence alone all day, and then 3 Endermen showed up, and I was like, well, I can't not tell people that there's fucking Endermen in my house. And then I accidentally killed my creeper, so that was sad. But I'm waiting for a new one. We'll be fine. Oh my god. I don't like that it's even with the grass, but I just terraformed everything. It'll be fine. Yeah, sorry your sleep schedule's wrecked, but it's okay with my time, I suppose. I haven't been on much because I keep saying I'm gonna stop playing Minecraft on live, and then that's all I want to do, so. Yeah. I'm like, I'll do something else, and then I don't. I'm Minecraft brain rot right now. Oh no, not trusting too many people. That's fair though. Sometimes, it'd be like that. Do you think this would count as an infestation? Do we have more stone? Yes. Also, I did the thing where I took out all the blocks and I put down whatever the fuck. And here we are with 3 fucking Endermen in my house. Like, what is happening? What's the weird thing? Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting that you're both from the UK. Especially with, like you said, your sleep schedule is fucked. It's gotta be late as hell for both of you, so kind of surprising. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be so pretty. And then I want a pond. Shut up, leave me alone. Now they're both stuck in the boat. I keep wanting one of these bitches to drop their purple bow, and they never do, and it makes me really mad, actually. Oh, that is kind of weird. Especially, like, both of you, but no one else. Huh. That's okay, me too. Stone. Oh, I have more bricks in here. I can take those. Not the energy drinks. You're doing this to yourself, buddy. Caramel frappe. Oh, I freaking love their frappes. Me this weekend. I'm gonna be honest, I took a nap earlier even, because I was like, I don't want to do anything. Naps. I'm gonna have to break some of those, I think. I want my pawns to be like, maybe start there. Is that too big? That's too big. Okay, that's fine. Only good thing from McDonald's is the fried chicken. Wait. Okay. Can I use slabs? I don't like how tall that is. Is that not driving age there? Legally able to drive at 16. You. Oh, also my farm is popping off, and now I have an insane amount of seeds, and I don't know what to do with all of them. And I'm really mad that I haven't found a villager who will buy them from me. Because it's, like, I've started trashing them, because I have so many, and I don't need them. Okay. I might get in. Yeah, I probably have to make it deeper, huh? To hold said water. So there's that. Hmm. Now I feel like it's too small. R.I.P. Oops. I don't even think I needed to break that one. Did I? Yes, I did. Okay, we're good. Not a waste, not a waste. Why is it a lot? Wait, so you really can't drive before 17? That should be fine. No, I don't like it. Hmm. That makes sense. Wait, I need those. Hey. I have too much shit. I don't know where to find things now. And I'm gonna get even more confused now that one of the chests is upstairs. Mm. Oops, teehee. I didn't mean to do that. Hang on. There. No! No! What? Welcome in. It's going. Man. Okay, I'm gonna have to think about this. My day's been pretty good. I was mostly really lazy today. I didn't work, so yeah, didn't really do anything. Played Minecraft most of the day. Bruh. There. No! How the fuck did I do this last time? I don't remember. Okay, I might have to do this. Hang on. That doesn't work. Okay. I don't remember what the fuck I did last time. Man. That's not how I fucking did this last time? The fuck? You know what? That's a problem for another day. I'm not dealing with that right now, thank you. I don't have any iron. Oh no! That's weird. Hope that's a Twitch issue and not a me issue. Thanks for the follow! Welcome in. Is it Broly? That's that guy from Dragon Ball Z, right? I've never watched it. I don't know if that's pronounced right. Oh, well, let me put the book back. I don't need it. Ah, nah, you're cool, man. I mean, I don't mean to call you man if, you know, I call everyone man. That's my bad. If you're not a man, I'm sorry. Y'all are... Go off. Ah, Dragon Ball Super, I believe that is. Oh, it's Broly Psycho in Dragon Ball Z. Interesting. Noted. Learning something new. I don't know. I just... I mean, I know I should. I haven't watched One Piece either, honestly. There are many things. Oh, ew, get out of here. Close that. Many things I should have already watched by now and just haven't. And now I have the attention span of a peanut. And I have a really hard time watching anything, if I'm being honest. If I watch it with a person, I can watch things. But otherwise, it's very, very hard to get me to actually finish things I start. If I'm being honest. Ah! One Piece is so long. So long. Super version, it's not his fault. It was just the way he was raised. Please no. You're not invited into my bed, sir. Don't look at me like that. Sometimes we are nothing but a product of our childhood. Womp womp. Ew, go away. That broke my fucking sword. Wow. Oh no. No, not him watching me sleep. No, not invited. That reminds me, the other day I saw a cute villager girl mod, and I was like, we're just gonna, yep, yep, thanks. Oh yeah, I tore this open to do that stuff. Okay, I forgot. He's been living here so long he considers me family. I don't know what it is about my house, like, there are always Endermen in my house. Even before it was a fully, like, enclosed space, there were fucking Endermen in the house. And they'll leave sometimes. There weren't any in my house earlier today. And then I walk in and there's fucking 3. Like, what is happening? What what is going on with your Twitch? It's not everybody, right? What was I doing? Oh, stone. Not trying to be weird, but facts, right? I need those stairs pretty soon, too. I start screaming, "Leave me alone! I like women! Please move out! I didn't invite you!" Oh man, I run out of shit so fast. It's crazy. I should have just made fucking... I vote Nutella. I should have just made slabs. I'm stupid. That would have been like... I wouldn't have wasted as much stone. Here, I don't need you, you. You. I have supplies. Bye! Thanks for dropping in! Have a good rest of your night! Okay, and then go... Bam. At least I assume that takes up less supplies. I don't fucking know. I didn't do the math. I didn't look. I need to figure out how to make hedges. Oh yeah, there's like a little plot over here too. That would be cute. I cut that shit off. Oh no. Well, that sucks. One hedge it is. skeleton sounds are stressing me out, if I'm being honest. Because I know he's in there. And he's waiting. I haven't freaking found any axolotls. Genuinely mad about it. I should finish that. Theirs goes off into like an extra little house or shed or something. For the amount of reference images I saved, I'm really only using 2 as freaking inspo. Did I bring my stairs? No, of course not. Are they? There. Only 12. Kind of sucks. That's okay. I have more baking. Doable. Okay. Oh my gosh, I just remembered looking at this picture. I'm actually really annoyed. Hold up. So I have my balcony, right? I wanted to do like a fence. But I wanted it made out of stone. So now I'm just mad about it. So I don't know what to do. I think I can figure the stairs out. That's wrong. Fuck. Off to a great start. There we go. Oh shit, it's gonna have to go up a block. Okay. Cool. So I'm gonna have to put in fake blocks for a minute. Okay. Nice. Okay. Maybe I should just make them... I don't know. I don't know. Well, I didn't mean to do all of that, but pop up. That's the vibe, right? Yes. There's look weird. Whatever, it's fine. I do think I want stone blocks on where the dirt is, though, actually. Great, I have two. Not what I meant to do, thank you. That was pretty silly of me. Wait, I was gonna need that. I have to keep going. I keep doing that. I know that's how it works. Why do I just keep letting it happen? Shout out to Float Mechanic. Great addition to the game, if I do say so myself. Wait, ah! I was gonna say the dirt's in the perfect spot, and then I frickin' fell. Climb, so let me just build some fucking stairs. Okay, from here, I don't think I need more internal stone shit. I think that'll be fine as is. It's kind of nice when I can just walk over the, you know, maybe I should just, you know, that's fine. Well, somebody's got some pretty good armor. I am hungry. You know what? I don't want to die, so I'm just gonna come inside and eat a snack really quick. Don't mind me. I've never seen a skeleton in armor yet, actually. I genuinely thought it was a zombie attacking me with a bow for a second. I'll just get rid of that, that's fine. Okay. No, the roof is gonna touch my window. That's why it's not centered on theirs. Oh my god. Am I gonna have to decenter it? Oh my god. I'm gonna have to decenter it. I'm gonna have to redo this again. Oh my god. Oh my god, that's so annoying. How high up do I need to do the fucking roof? How many more blocks? actually needs to be 3 blocks over. So the door is not going to be centered anymore either. This floor plan is so irritating! Can I help you? You know what? Let's just go to bed. Are you serious, bro? Get out of here! Oh my god, I can't even sleep because they're in my house. Whatever, I guess we'll die. That's so annoying. Fuck off. Why are you in my pond? This little motherfucker. He's gonna kill me. I'm gonna die. I'm so dead. Oh my god, are we for real? None of this would have happened if I could just sleep in my bed! Wait, he ran past the door. Oh my god. I mean, I could move it, I guess, but it's so annoying. Just get out of my house. Really? Get out of here. I guess I'm gonna be an insomniac from now on. Fuck off, little child. Are we for real? Oh my god. What am I doing? Yeah, fuck off. Get off my lawn! The guys in the pond are just chilling. Is my pond really gonna be a mistake because of these bitches? Am I gonna have to put stairs in my pond like you do for wild animals? Wrong tool, wrong tool. I was like, why is it taking so long? move this thing a million times. Oh my god, I wanted this the last time. Too far. Oops. Give it back. I need it. Okay. Here's my stinky door. Probably here. Yeah. I guess. Hi, yes. I'm still not affiliate. I'm never gonna have buttons. Hi, Sarah. How are you guys? I'm Minecrafting a pretty bitchin' house, if I do say so myself. Look at this shit. We're doing it. I'm moving my porch for the 500th time, though, so I'm kind of annoyed. Oh my god, also there's 3 fucking Endermen living in the house! So I have an infestation. Okay, so if I move this, what am I gonna do with the wall? Make it stone as well? Probably, I guess. Just do that. Shut up! My nemesis. My nemesis is back. I hate him. Thanks. We do 4 up, I think. Where is he? Lore, I fucking hate the traveling merchant. He makes me so mad. I really do, for real. I can't sleep anymore because they're, you know, they're in my fucking house. Oh my god, I should put stairs in the corner and then that'll kind of like... Oh, that would look so good. Hold up. Okay, I have to think about this. I don't know how to achieve the angle I want. I don't think I can. Like a sideways. Is this stuffing good? Well, there's upside down. I don't think I... Can I do sideways? I probably can't. Yeah, I probably can't. I'm gonna give up. It's fine. It'll be fine. Everything's fine. It's just a thought. God, I hate that merchant. Is that too tall? Whatever. It works. Yeah, I think that's a lot taller. Shit. It doesn't work because it'll still make my roof hit my fucking window. So. Yes, that's good. He's on my roof! Bruh. Fuck you get up there? It's terrorizing me. Okay, ba 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 ba. Shut up. And the dirt is too close. That's cool. It's awesome. Fuck. Okay, meh. Okay, hopefully my maths this time. I put more dirt down because I'm stupid. Okay, we're good. We're not good. Shut up. God, I hate him. So I really don't think I need to have, like... Well, maybe I do need to have it come in with the stone to make it look right. Okay. Ignore that dirt block. Goodbye. Huh? Ah! What the fuck? You bitch! Are we kidding? He just wants me to kill him again. Oh my fucking god. Absolutely nothing good. I'm surprised they're not spitting at me. The fuck? Okay, maybe I'll leave them alone then. They're not being assholes. They don't deserve to die because their fucking owner is a piece of shit, right? I'll leave them. It's fine. They can run free. I lied. Just fucking sniping my ass. Wait. I wanted a hedge. Yes. Let me see if I can sleep tonight. Probably not. Maybe, maybe. We'll see, we'll see. Ooh, fuck yeah. Nice. Hello? Why is he pissed off? What the fuck? Okay. Ah! No! Why? I didn't do anything! You're in my house! What the fuck? He's still mad. He's still growling. I didn't do anything. When you wake up one day and your roommate decides to kill you. Maybe I should do like one slab? Thinking. Like, I don't know, it just looks weird. Maybe I just need to do upside down stairs? Yes, that's exactly what I need to do. Okay. This is gonna be a process, oh my god. Well, that looks a lot better, I would say. Hey. What am I fucking doing? Hang on. There. Oh shit, wait. No, wrong, wrong, wrong. So that is what I need to do there, okay. Oops, why am I like this? So they can go on sideways. Interesting. Fuck. Well, no, I still need that, huh? That's center. That is center. No, it's not. Okay. At least I got one of them out of my house, I guess. Even if I had to fucking die. Why am I making it out of stone? That looks kind of goofy, huh? Sigh! We'll start with the other half, and then we'll decide. That's what we're gonna do. Yes. That's right. I don't know. Okay. Yep. Oh, fuck. I'm gonna have to fight the bullet and do that. Just gonna look a little weird. No, I want to make it. I want to make that stone. For sure. How the fuck did I do this originally? Why am I fighting for my life right now? Don't mind that. Take that. Hey. Shit. Still gonna hit my fucking window. Oh, I guess it's fine. I could always move the window over too, I guess. I'm gonna do this. Wrong spot. And then hit it with the burp. Hey. Cool. Yep. This bitch. Not what I wanted to do. Kidding. Nice. And then that means I can do this. No! I hate it here. Are we for real? Oh my fucking god. How irritating. Mad. Where are my boots at? Oh, maybe they died. That's possible. Oh, where's my pickaxe? And my scythe. Oh my god, fuck off! You guys are fucking assholes. Getting real sick of them. They're shenanigans. Okay, I need this. Okay. Okay. Pick up. And then, iron. Fuck's my iron up? Mm, I can make a fire later, or a hoe or whatever. I don't need it right now. Can't sleep. God damn it. Oops. Or, oh, whatever, I guess. Really? Why are there so fucking many? Hang on, I'm not dealing with this. The fuck? I'm gonna have to move my bed. Put it back where it was. Bullshit. Fuck off. Oh no, I have a bunch of fucking. Here, we're good. I'm gonna go... Fuck off! Oh my god. Two? Are you done? Nonsense. Okay. Mm. Oops. There's something about it that I do not like. Hmm. I feel like they did... How many slots? Cool. What am I doing? Oh my god, I made so many. Wrong way, wrong way. Okay, so I think I did this. It's gonna be exactly the same as stairs? No. It's gonna be like not as steep. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Much better. Okay. I like that a lot, actually. Okay. And now it's not gonna hit my window either. It's gonna be so much better, so much nicer. couple stairs still. Okay. There. Not there. Hang on. There. Okay. Excellent, excellent. Fuck. That's much better. Okay. This might have been a mistake. I forgot I can't use two slabs. Two different slabs. So maybe this one. Fuck that. Is gonna have to go here like that. Which is fine, I suppose. Rip. Decided I did like this side better. We're good. And we'll just have to mess with the stone bits. Yeah, that's nice. Okay. Whoop. Okay. I guess I'll die. Oh, this is stupid. Maybe I'll have to have it cut instead of having the stone there. Did they do it? I'm doing this too, though. Yeah, maybe it has to stay like that. How do I get theirs? I know how to fix it. Hang on. No! Are we fucking serious? I'm fucking getting really, really mad about creepers. Actually. What the fuck? So fucking irritated. Oh my god. Okay, so I was thinking... Whatever, I was tearing it down anyways. Thinking do this. It's the first one. Okay, and then... Oh, I need to eat something. I'm about to die, for real. Go away! Okay, so... That. No, bring that one up. It's only gonna work for like one block though. But that might be all I need. I can fiddle with it on the inside of the... Actually, so hi, Smokey. I can make a nice roof. Hi, are you gonna come sit with me? Come here. You see? What am I holding? There we go. Okay, so with this theory, go and then that's not gonna last me long. Once I start doing block by block. I could. That's not bad. Okay. That works. Oh shit, but that one will have to go up too. It's okay though, because that's like the middle, so maybe it'll be fine. I should have left that there. I'm stupid. Oh no, 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 no. We need to do that. Okay. Oh my god, yes, wait, this is so... Oh my god. I have it. I have it. Perfect. And then this doesn't have to go up too. Oh my god, so smart. So smart. There we go. Oh, I could have just done that. Oh. Oops. I think we did it. Yeah, it's really good. Okay, nice. Pop off. Spots I need dirt too, huh? Yup. From my excessive terraforming. my life now. No thoughts had empty. Okay, so maybe I'll just start from the middle. So that there's one more. Oh, up one. I shouldn't have taken down all that dirt. I'm stupid. So a block. Maybe I do need to go up two on that one. Maybe not. Idea. Right. Right. Okay, and then I will just. He already fucking is back. Wow. Just this. Yes. And then it's got to go in with a stone slab. There. Yeah. Bam. No one will know. The perfect crime. I think that's where I needed to start with these. Oh no, they need to start from the top, right? So maybe here. Nope, I was right the first time. And then I go in one, up one. It's like a full block. Yeah. And then I'll put stairs in the middle. Oop. Hold up. It's so fucking crooked. Okay. Close, but no. That's right, isn't it? No, even that's wrong. Okay. That's... Yes. I just have to... Yeah. Then I'll cut that block. I need a thing of stone there. Yes. That looks right, I think. Oops. I need to go this. And then what? Oh fuck, why did I... Oh. Oh? Get out of here, EA. What the fuck? I need to pick this one off. Good, 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 good. Yes. Oh, it's not the traveling merchant. Let me eat something so I don't die. Oh my god, what the fuck? Bitch knows how to open doors. Or maybe I did that myself while I was eating my bread again. Probably. You know. Where is he? Crossbow versus crossbow. Oh fuck, what is that? A spider? Why are we all trying to eat me? Nice. Okay. Anyways, that's what I was doing. My god. Get off my rope! I forgot how I did this. Wait, am I out of breath? Holy shit, I am. me every time I sleep gets in chat. Okay, how did I finish off the other side? Okay, one row of empty. So that's empty. Okay, that's fine. Got it. I should probably just fill that with stone. Is that the... What is happening? Okay. I see. Okay. Yes. Makes sense. I just left that empty. How did I do that over here? Fuck. I just left it empty. Okay. I fell in. No? Oh, I see what my problem is. Shit. Bam. There we go. I'd like to do both, thank you. There. Proof completed. Oh, I can't do stairs there. It's in the center. Another slab. Yeah, that's nice. Now let's see if I can put lanterns in there. Probably fucking not. I do have chains though. Chains, hang on. Two. Cute. He cute. One more chain. Nice. Oops. Cannot believe I forgot to do that. Bingus, bingus. I feel like they're too close together. I'm gonna move the lanterns on the back. Okay, thank you. I don't like that. I don't like this. It's gotta go. I think I liked the lanterns more where they were originally. Move them back. Oops! Wow! Good work. Good job. I think that was a good day's work. I really want to move my door, but and then it'll be weird in the living room. Maybe I need to expand, because that looks weird now, huh? If I could figure out how to make sideways stairs, I wouldn't hate it as much. Okay, good work. I think I'm calling it a night. For those of you who came and hung out, thank you so much. It's so great to have you. I hope you all have a really good night. And I hope I get to see you next time. Thanks for hanging out with me.